I want you to imagine that you're married, you've got a brand new child, you've got bills that are so far in debt that the sheriff has come to your door and told you you're going to be evicted in 30 days. We're going to take everything you own and you're going to be forced to move out. And you've got $126 left in your pocket and credit cards that are just about maxed out. What do you do next? Because this is the moment that Derek Dahl's life changes. You would think this is one of the worst moments of his life. But what you're going to hear in this episode of Unbeatable is this is the moment that things start to turn around and he goes from $126 in credit cards and maxed out and debt to a multi-seven-figure company in record time. Check out Derek Dahl on this episode of Unbeatable.
These stories of triumph over adversity will help you handle your toughest days in life and become unbeatable.
Derek, thank you for being with me on this episode of Unbeatable.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I've been looking forward to getting into your story. You and I have had a chance to talk in the past. I was just blown away by your story, and I'm excited for the guests to be able to hear all that you've been through and how you're, coming through it strong on the other side.
Yeah, man, I'm very excited to be here and share my story.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about growing up. Let's talk about a little guy trying to play basketball at the high school and collegiate level, man. Why basketball? Like, when did you decide that was your sport?
My dad, it was his favorite sport growing up. So naturally, he was a leader, captain of his basketball team. He averaged 27.8 points per game without a three-point line back in the day.
What?
So that was his claim to fame, and he would always rub it into me at a young age.
Yeah, of course.
So we were always out in the front yard shooting hoops together, and he was always just roughing me, just pushing me on the ground, just really preparing me for this level. And just the competitiveness, I just absolutely love the adrenaline rush that you got from just being competitive with your friends and just winning.
I love the fact that you have your dad's stats memorized. Like, if you're going to have a player's card and your dad played the game, that's the perfect, ball player's card to have.
He's told me so many times in my life, I could never forget it.
Of course. Yeah. That's what dads do, right? So you started playing ball. Tell us a little bit about high school, maybe even some college ball.
Yeah, so I was captain of my basketball team at Spring Lake Park, Minnesota, just a small town. From there, I went and played basketball at Bethel University, which is a Christian-based school.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Transferred to St. Thomas, played there, and honestly, it was a rough part in my life for 2 years. Ended up spraining my ankle for like the 400th time in my life. I got my third concussion. Basically, doctors were telling me, man, you can't go anymore. And my dream in life, and I felt like my purpose in life was to be a professional basketball player. So that really hurt me in terms of my identity in life. And I was really into my faith at that time before then. And then I ended up just kind of straying away from my faith during that time after I lost my identity. And we can get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of the backstory on basketball. So it literally was my whole life. I didn't have much of a childhood besides just going to the basketball tournaments on the weekends. And my parents, I thank them for just investing so much into me and there for me on the weekends. And that's kind of, how I grew up.
Yeah. Look, man, concussions usually don't go along with the game of basketball. You must have been a bruiser out there on the court, because if you had 3 concussions playing the game, you gave that game everything you had.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I'm 5'10". I'm a short white guy, so you have to be the fastest one on the court at my height. And so needless to say, I was going, I was run and gun.
Yeah, and talk about unbeatable, man. By the way, I did my research, and 17 or so sprained ankles later, and you're still out there playing the game. At some point, I think, like sprained ankle number 12 or 15, people would have been like, hey, maybe I should reconsider. Maybe I should start thinking about a different sport. But not Derek, man. He doesn't let anything or anyone stop him.
Yeah, again, it was way deeper than a game to me. It was purpose in life at that time, and I really did believe that that's what God's calling was for me at the time. Even then, like the influence and platform that I had at that point of being the captain of the team going into college,
Yeah.
I was able to witness to a lot of players, for God and during that time too. And, that experience of basketball, with my dad coaching me from kindergarten, all the way to eighth grade really shaped and molded me into the leader that I am today, in my business. So I'm very
Yeah.
thankful for the experience.
Okay, so you just used the word identity a second ago. And for a kid who grew up surrounded by basketball, dad played basketball, it's part of your family growing up, it's part of your childhood, it basically dominates your life. When you can't play the game anymore, obviously this impacted you. How did you deal with not being able to play the game anymore? And more importantly, trying to figure out who am I if I'm not a guy on the basketball court anymore? Like, why was that such a struggle adjusting to a new normal without the game of basketball?
Yeah, I handled it terribly, honestly. I ended up partying, and this was like so out of my nature.
Yeah.
Really tried the things of this world, drinking, partying, chasing after the women, all the things that are glorified in the society. And it was so empty, so empty. And I remember just a few of those dark nights where I was just like mad at God, like God, like you've given me this purpose, and yet here I am, I can't even play anymore. What am I here to do?
Yeah.
I'm working
Yeah.
retail during the week, and I had to drop out of college because my parents couldn't pay for my college anymore,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
never get in the book. But it was like I had completely lost who I was, because that's I believe that God had given me that purpose, and when it was taken from me, I felt like my whole identity shattered. And over the course of those 2 years, I prayed to meet my wife, and once I met her, it was just few days in and getting to know her, she invited me to church, and that really sparked things back into my faith. And I
Yeah.
thank God for that woman, because without her, I don't even know how long I would have went. But yeah, able to really rekindle my faith in God, and that emptiness immediately left.
Yeah, Derek, you just said something really important, man. There are guys that put all of their passion and energy into a job. They put it all into a sport. They put it all into an education, and then the bottom drops out, and they don't have that job or that sport or that education anymore. And now they're trying to figure out, well, who am I? Not just what do I do next? That's a big question, but a much bigger question is who am I? And if you're not careful, you'll try to replace the job, sport, education with something very shallow. And I'm glad to hear you say, man, you tried that shallow stuff, it left you empty. And then I can't tell you the number of guys I know that story just like you met a good woman and they really, really started to turn things around because of a wife, a sweetheart, a wife that started to get a hold of their attention, and God used a woman to put them back on the right path.
Yeah, and it's like it shouldn't take another person for you to go
Right?
to this,
Yeah.
right? But it was just like that naive prayer, just being young and immature, and just God, let me meet a wife who can change me. And I'm thankful that God did bring me my wife at the right time, and
Yeah.
that's what I needed at the time. And I think that sometimes you just have to go to God and just ask, just boldly, freely talk to Him, just like I'm talking to you today, and He shows up.
Yeah. And by the way, thank God he put your wife in your life, but that's a lot of pressure to put on another human being if you're looking to them to change you. So if you're
True.
listening right now, please take Derek's advice. Don't expect that from another human being. That shouldn't be where you look to for change or for real difference. But when those things happen, man, thank God.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that little spark, just
Yeah.
hey, invite you back to church, and whatever that may be, and being able to understand that God He's there, He's waiting for you. You have to move, and I'm a firm believer in that. You have to take action. God's not just going to do everything for you.
Yeah. Derek, a couple of quick questions just so the audience gets a chance to learn who you are as a person a little bit better. I'm asking all of my guests this season, like, let's imagine that you got a free day, business is going great. You don't have any responsibilities at work, no responsibilities that you got to take care of. And you can do whatever you want, wherever you want, with whoever you want today. But it's basically a total free day. What do you do with your day? And more importantly, why?
Yeah, to think that no responsibilities, that's hard to believe. But if I had
Yeah,
a
me
free
too.
day, genuinely, I know it sounds cliche, but my son, I've got a 4-year-old son named Daxon, and he truly is the biggest blessing in my life, and I'm so honored to be a father. And I would do anything, anywhere. I still haven't been able to take my son to Disney World, so probably take my son
Awesome.
to Disney World. And actually, I know we'll get into this later about my wife's health and the story and everything, but we've been trying to go this last year, wasn't able to for my wife's health, but this year, or this coming year in 2023, really, really hoping, after our resurrection sale in April, that's our second biggest sale of the whole year. After that time, I have it scheduled to bring the whole family to Disney World. So hopefully we can make that dream come true.
I was going to say, I just wrote it down on my notes. Derek's going to Disney. If he's got a free day, he's taking Jackson and the family to Disney. That sounds cool, man.
Yep. And it's Daxon with a D. I know it's a little bit different.
Oh, it's Daxon. Okay.
Yeah. We call him Dax for short. So DAX.
All right. Hey, we're almost at Christmas. You got a couple of favorite Christmas traditions that you do as a family, you and your wife and your children? Something that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I would say that, family is absolutely number one in our life, other than God. And just putting up the Christmas tree. We actually just moved into our new home. We were living in a townhouse for the past 6 years, and God has been able to provide a beautiful home on 2.5 acres for us.
Nice.
Just away from my warehouse with the business. And so we just moved in here. It's been, I think, 3 or 4 weeks now. We just put up the Christmas tree. And so that's a great tradition for us. It's just making some hot chocolate, put up the Christmas tree, get some Christmas music on, and just spend time with family during the holidays. And we lost my father in 2020, and unexpectedly, it really was a big shock to our family.
Yeah.
So he actually passed away the day before Thanksgiving in 2020.
Oh, man.
So it's 2 years now. And so just being around family right now is super important. And, we're still all grieving his loss because, as you can tell, it's such a big influence in my life. And I don't want to get emotional, but it's been tough. And sticking around family, it's money, business, everything comes and goes, but understand that relationships are truly the most important thing on this earth.
Well, man, I'm sorry about your father, but I was just thinking, you're in this brand new house. I hope that you have 20, 30 years of Christmas memories, putting the tree up, hot cocoa, listening to some music, and your children 20 years from now are thinking about those moments with you, like you're remembering back to those moments with your father.
Yeah, no, that's all we can hope for.
So let's talk about you leave you after school, you go out and you get a job, and things are getting pretty serious. How long have you known your fiance or your wife before you get married?
Oh, so this is so funny. One of my best friends growing up through elementary, it was his cousin. So I actually met my wife Gabby when I was like 7th grade. And they would always joke around because I was like, a grade or two ahead of her. And they would always kind of joke around, oh, you should date Gabby. And, we're in middle school. And I'm like, I don't have time for girls. I got basketball.
That's right. Yeah.
So she, her and I only had a few interactions during that time. But then we had met later down the road, like I said, during the time when I dropped out of college, ended up seeing her at a bar. Actually, this was again during my crazy days. It was on New Year's Eve, on my birthday. I'm a New Year's Eve baby, and I actually saw her father was at the bar, and I said, "Hey, Brad, how's it going?" He's like, "Hey, I've got my wife and Gabby here," and since that night, we started texting each other, and the rest was history there. And then it just began this lifelong journey of what has God created me to do.
Yeah.
And I was getting, I was just such a job hopper, working 9 to 5 jobs, not too sure of what I was, going to be doing with my life. And then, from there, I worked at place called Snap Fitness headquarters.
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
if you're.
know all about it. Uh-huh.
Yep, I worked there, and I just prayed that God would just give me a vision. I prayed for $1 million idea, and again, the money,
You
like not.
wait a second. You really said the words $1 million idea?
I did. I said,
All
God,
right.
please give me a $1 million idea. And
Okay.
I've always been taught you have not because you ask not.
All
And
right.
I'm not into the prosperity gospel by any means, as far as like, hey, you give money, you'll get money from God. Not
Yeah,
anything like
right.
God. I pray for this $1 million idea, not only for the money but the impact that it will give you. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
promise, you give me this platform one day, God, I will give you glory every step of the way. And so this idea of starting the first ever clothing brand, first ever Christian clothing brand that's non-cheesy, not in your
Yeah.
face,
Yeah.
hard Jesus, huge market for it, respect it, but it's just not what I wanted to wear personally. You can tell what I'm wearing right now. It says three nails,
Uh-huh.
very
Right.
subtle, minimalist, premium quality, and that just would not shake me. And finally, I just one day said, you know what? Enough is enough. I feel like I'm suffocating at my job. I'm not an employee. I keep job hopping, place to place. And I just knew that I needed to, to start it right then and there.
Well, okay, so where are you in your relationship with Gabby at this point?
So at this point, right when I met her, we got engaged within 8 months. I knew she was the
Uh-huh.
one. Married the very next year. When I was at Snap Fitness working my corporate job, we had just been married for maybe a half a year or to a year.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All right,
very
so I need to
early.
unpack this with you a little bit because we're going through right now in the US and other parts of the world as well, what sociologists are calling, and I hate to use these terms, the great resignation, right? COVID radically changed things for a lot of people. And they found themselves in the same spot you are. I'm working this 9 to 5 job. I hate it. I don't know why I'm doing this. The world goes online. I don't want to go back to work in the office. So I'm just going to quit. And a lot of people, millions of them actually around the world, quit with no idea what to do next. You quit with a vision about $1 million, $1 million idea from God. But there's also this really scary idea or really scary prospect of, okay, I don't want to go back to this mundane, miserable, getting up, going to work just for a paycheck lifestyle, but I still got to pay the bills. So you're a
Yeah.
brand new husband, brand new family, and you're working in a corporate job and you decide, I think I'm going to leave it. Man, you got to tell me, where does that kind of courage come from and what happens next?
Yeah, so just to bring some clarity too, so that was in 2017, and then I worked there for 2 years, and then so 2017 is when I started my business, and then my wife Gabby, she and forgive me if I'm going too far ahead in the story here, you can stop me, but in
No, man.
2018 when she gave birth to our son Daxon, and they left a little bit of the placenta in her, and then that caused a huge infection, and then she got extremely ill. She was diagnosed with something called Addison's disease. I think like only one out of like 100,000 people have it. It's super rare. And at this point, I am building my business on side of going to my job, and I'm commuting an hour to my job and an hour back. I was in the car 2 hours every single day for the last
Yeah.
2 years. And then once I was taking her to the hospital and to the ER month after month, 1 month I took her 21 times out of 30 days. I remember
Holy
counting.
cow, man.
Needless to say, I got fired from my job. Um, I just wasn't able to be present. I mean, how could you be when
Yeah.
you're really
Yeah.
going through the most tragic thing? And so from there, I had a decision to make. Am I going to go all in on this business that I believe that God has given me this vision for? Or do I have to go get another dead end job? And
Yeah.
I knew I was not built to be an employee. And I fasted for 3 days. I just drank water and I just prayed and I fasted and I just was seeking the Lord on another level. I was so hungry and fed up with what I was going through. And it was just over the sickness and just all that stuff. And I came to the decision. I heard from God. I told my wife, Gabby, this is what God told me. I have to go all in the business. And mind you, my wife had just got fired from her job because it couldn't work. And so from here, I set out on the biggest journey. I remember going to this little cafe by my house the next morning, and I sat down, I wrote in my journal, and I said my first day as an entrepreneur, I felt like such a fake and such a fraud. You know? But I said, you know what? I've got to start somewhere. And as the Bible says, do not despise the day of small beginnings.
Yeah.
And so I set off, and my parents, thank God for them, supported me. And I won't go too far ahead, but that's kind of the start of it. And that courage, 100%, I derive my strength from God.
Yeah.
And just that hunger to, when you're really going through adversity, you're willing, when your back's against the wall, it's really sink or swim. And it's like, I just, my newborn, and am I going to fail my family, my son? Everyone's watching me. And, truly that was the moment that changed my life forever.
Yeah. So for everybody who's watching or listening to this point of this Derek story, I can't stress how much is going on in his life at this moment, man. He's newly married, got a baby, wife's sick. He just lost his job because I'm trying to be a good husband and take care of my wife, who's in the hospital basically 3/4 of the month. And she lost her job. Now you guys are both unemployed. And you're saying, I can't shake this idea that God wants me to start to pursue a business. But man, I'm thinking about millions of fathers and husbands out there that are saying, yeah, I'd do that too, Derek, but I got to pay the bills. And right now, if I don't work, my family doesn't eat. So I'd love to go do what you did, but I got to pay the bills. And I want all of you to just think of the courage that it takes to say, man, I know this is what I'm supposed to do next. I just don't have any idea how I'm going to be able to pay the bills doing it. So what happens next, man?
Yeah. And just, piggybacking off of that, when you make the decision to just move, God shows up, and you figure it out, and things just fall into place. And it is so scary, and it's so rocky at first.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Go in and you walk by faith and not by sight. He shows up, man. And so from there, I couldn't pay the bills. I was like $1,300 behind on my bills every single month now. And it was actually, that was with my corporate job. I was making $50K.
I was going to say now.
Just to clear it up. With my wife's salary, we were fine paying the bills. We had extra and stuff.
Yeah.
We were very conservative with our money. But when I lost that, I mean, we're talking two car payments, house, everything is on the line. So we're talking thousands of dollars that I won't be able to recover. And we made the decision that night. Gabby and I had sat down at the dinner table, and I said, we're going to have to go behind on our bills and trust God that he's going to show up. And during this whole time when I was behind on my bills too, I tithed every single paycheck, because God doesn't want your money. He wants your heart. And I truly believe that God, when I'm showing you that I'm giving you my first foremost, show up for me. And so I do believe that I am where I am today because of just trusting God that he's going to show up. So we went behind on our bills 8 months, went behind on the mortgage. 8 months.
Wow.
Sheriff came to the doorstep, served me paper and said, hey, I'm so sorry to do this, but you got 30 days. You got to get out of here. The auction sale is going to be done on this date. And I shut the door and I just melted. I called my mom and I said, Mom, how do I file bankruptcy? What can I do? And I remember going in the shower that night and just feeling so hopeless. And I sat in the shower and I just let it rain on top of me, and I was in tears. I felt like such a failure as a father, husband. I felt like a failure. And
Derek, you're talking to lots of dads and lots of husbands right now that are behind on their bills, and they're feeling like, man, I'm a terrible dad. I'm a terrible husband because I can't provide for my family right now. Maybe they don't get to the point that the sheriff is knocking on the door telling them, you got to move and we're going to sell everything you own to pay the bills. But man, there's a lot of people right now where you were. So you're in the shower and you're broken basically because of the finances.
And it was almost like the enemy had won. I felt defeated. And I'm just like, God, I'm trying to plead my case. I'm an honest person. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father, the best that I can be. I'm not perfect. And I'm trying to just plead my case with God of like, where did I go wrong? or my prayer's not working. Like, what is all this stuff going on? And then it just like hit me, and I just said, God, please make a way where there seems to be no way. And that was like that word that I needed. It's, God, please make a way where there seems to be no way. And there's this Christian song called "Do It Again," and in the chorus it says, God made a way when there was no way. And that I hadn't even listened to the song at that point until like later days. So it's kind of funny how that all worked out. And I just said, you know what? I am going to do whatever it takes. I got 30 days. I'm going to be foreclosed on anyway. So I might as well give this my best shot. I found a Facebook ads course, and I had a little bit left on my credit card. And so you can't pay a mortgage with a credit card. So I just threw
So you maxed out that card, right?
the credit card. It was $4,000 or $5,000, something like that. Maxed out the credit card. And I learned how to do Facebook ads. In this course that was like 6 weeks, I completed in 4 days. I just didn't even sleep. This was around the clock. And I put, my Black Friday inventory order, everything that I already paid for on credit card as well for 2019. And we launched our sales campaign. And during that month, again, it was like, well, I'm about to lose the mortgage anyway, so let's see how this goes. And we blew up. Overnight, we made $28,000 in that month, which was the most amount of money that I've ever seen at that point in time. And I remember going to the Barnes and Noble next to my house the very next day, and I wrote myself a check just to pay the mortgage. I begged them to allow me to get a home modification loan.
Yeah.
And crazy enough to work with us. And I was able to show that I could pay it month after month. But that was the pinnacle point where my business, Three Nails, completely skyrocketed. And it was just up until that point, I didn't pay myself a dime. I couldn't pay myself. Yeah. We were not profitable. I was working and going to trade shows on the weekends, and I was trying to just get the name out there and sending out free clothes. Like I was losing so much money, and for everything to just happen like right at the last hour just shows how good of a God that we serve.
Yeah. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you're now at the point of no return, right? Like 30 days from now, I'm going to get kicked out of the house. We don't have a place to live. My stuff is going to get sold at auction. I am so far in debt that you can't turn this thing around. And you're even talking to your mom about bankruptcy. And then you're in the shower. And let's just be honest, man, it's at your breaking point that you finally cry out and you're like, God, if you don't step in at this moment, I can't fix this. Make a way, your quote, where there seems to be no way. But Derek, as I'm hearing you tell this part of your story, I'm thinking this guy really is unbeatable, because that's the moment where most guys are just going to throw in the towel. They're going to say, man, I gave it my all. And I just want to credit you, man. It wasn't like you weren't trying. You're working until 3:00 in the morning, right? You've got a full-time job, and then you've got this side hustle that's taking everything out of you, and you're giving it everything you got. You're just not making any traction. Listen, man, other guys at this moment would have thrown in the towel. They would have said, I gave it my best. It didn't work out. We got to file bankruptcy or else we're going to lose everything. And then they would have just walked away from all of the problems, but you didn't. You stayed in there. Why did you stay? How did you stay in there is the big question. Why did you stay in there is the more important question.
I can't even describe to you the darkness and the loneliness during that time. My wife was arguably in the hospital more than at home.
And by the way, just for the listeners, your wife is still very ill and needs a lot of medical attention. So it's not like it all turned around overnight, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We're still going through the storm. She's better than what she was back then. But yeah, she was like literally in the hospital. I remember one time she was at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, and she ended up, she coded. She literally died, and they had to basically resurrect her and had to pull her toenail off to get her to awaken again.
Oh my goodness.
And that was the same week that my dad was in the hospital, and ended up passing. So like, just to go through this adversity, to go to sleep at night knowing that my spouse isn't there and there's nothing that I physically can do. I'm a fixer. As a man, we all are, right? We want to just fix things. And when you can't do anything about it, it's really frustrating. Yeah. And so if I didn't have God in my life, I mean, I would have been depressed and a wreck. And I've, told you the story back in the day of those 2 years where I was partying and drinking and all that stuff. It was so empty. And now with God, I've got this peace that surpasses all understanding, like the Bible talks about. And it truly is like, it's real. I had peace going through these things. I can't describe to you. You can't describe it. Nobody can. But when you're going through these motions, you just have this level of trust of like, God, I trust you. Whatever happens, I trust you. And it's just day by day. And you just have to not think what's going to happen a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years. Like, it's just a day by day. And being able to just derive that peace from God was all that I needed during that time. And, just for the listeners out there, I just highly, highly encourage anybody who doesn't have Jesus in their life to just come to him when you're broken, when you're feeling defeated, when you feel like a failure, when you're going through adversity, when you feel lonely. God's there for you and he will show up. And the Bible talks about that you will go through trials and tribulations. It's a promise, when you become a Christian, everything doesn't perfectly align in your life. That's not what Christianity is about. It's going through these trials and tribulations and the testing of your faith and the perseverance and becoming stronger, coming out of the storm. And now, again, being able to use this platform and this influence to give God glory and to witness for what he did and how he showed up in my life. It was impossible. I'm telling you, man. I worked my tail off, but God brought in all these connections and the networking, the systems and the processes and this course, like everything just came out of nowhere. And it says in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added unto you.
Yeah.
Everything will be added unto you when you seek God first. And so, I'm just here today to tell you, seek God first, and all these things will be added unto your life.
Yeah, man, your story is so powerful. When you used the word trust just a minute ago, I hope the listener understood what you were saying, because it doesn't mean that things necessarily are going to get better overnight. In fact, there's no promises here. You're just saying, God, I know that you're big enough, you can handle this. God, I know your plans are better than my plans, so I'm just going to put it in your hands. And in your case of your father, you put his health in your hands and he doesn't make it. You put your wife's health in your hands and she's not completely healed yet. But he gives you something in the middle of that as you're going through it, and he gives you peace on the inside and the strength to deal with it, because he's saying, look, you don't have to go through it alone. I'll be right there with you. I had a guest that I heard say, man, he's right there with you in the middle of your pain and in the middle of your difficulties. And it doesn't make the pain and difficulties go away. It just, he hasn't forgotten you. He's right there with you in the midst of it.
Absolutely. God is absolutely there. Like I said, during those lonely times, during those painful times. And I just feel like as men, we don't want to talk about our emotions. We don't want to feel anything. So we numb ourselves. We numb ourselves by watching Netflix, playing video games, booze, dopamine rush, just, from scrolling on TikTok and Instagram all day long. It's like, you got to wake up. You got to wake up, repent of the way that we've been thinking in the past stuff, come to Jesus and realize that he has created you for a purpose, a specific purpose that only you can carry out. Yeah. And nobody can stop what God has given you. And if you take action and you're diligent with it and you're a good steward of what God has given you, he's going to show up and he's going to be able to bless you. And so you're able to be a blessing unto the others. And maybe not everything is perfect on the outside. I did lose my dad, my wife's health and all this other stuff going on, but I have peace in this storm, and knowing that, a great motivator for my life is death. And some people don't want to think about death, and that's a scary thing. For me, it's so motivating, because it's like the average life on this earth is 76 years. Yeah. And I'm 29 years old right now. And so it's just like to even think that I'm almost halfway there. And like, we don't understand how quick, the Bible says it's but a vapor, and you're going to come to this life, go get a job, go work for the man, 9 to 5, pay bills, have a family, pay a mortgage, and die. I absolutely refuse that that's what God had intended for me. And so I'm going to go out there boldly, confidently, knowing that God has given me this purpose to carry to the world. And I'm trusting him every step of the way. And that peace, like I said, that surpasses all understanding, it gets me through those dark nights.
I love your language, man. Bold and confident, knowing I'm here to make a difference, not just to make a dollar and pay the bills and then die. And by the way, I'm one of those guys that's powerfully motivated by death too. I'm thinking to myself, at the end of my life, is this when I want to look back and say, I spent most of my life sitting on the couch watching TV? Or do I want to say, I went out there and did something with it and made, tried to make a difference? So, can we go back to bankruptcy for a second? Because I'm not going to throw rocks at anybody out there listening who actually filed for bankruptcy. But I got to think at this point, Derek, it is powerfully tempting for you to say, I can make all of this go away by just simply signing on the dotted line and filing for bankruptcy. And at this point, losing a little bit, but you can't, I don't lose it all. Why did you not file bankruptcy?
Because I had 30 days. I had time. For me, that's the way I viewed it anyway. I said, you know what? And at this time too, just for everyone to know, I was living out of my parents' freezer before I was able to get food stamps, and I was on food stamps. And
hey, no shame in it, man.
No shame at all. I know what it's like to feel judged. And I was going through the grocery store, and you give them that card, and they just look at you and kind of look up and down on you and judge you. And again, there's no judgment out there, but feeling that way of like, this is my life right now, and this is the way it's going to go. I personally knew I had to make a drastic change, and it was going to require immense sacrifice. And to me, again, when your back's against the wall, you begin to think so much more clearly, because you have this deadline. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice to sit there and sleep and be lazy. You have, like, my family's on the line. My house is on the line. And do I want my, family and friends to look at me and be like, man, Derek was captain of the basketball team. He was this guy that had a bright future, and now he's foreclosed. And so, to me too, it was like a little bit of the ego where it was like, I can't let my family fail. And, again, just having the back against the wall, just with the vision of God in my life, I'm all in.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. When your back is against the wall, it's easy to think clearly at this point, right? Because I don't have a whole lot of options now. There's really only one or two options in front of me. And Derek, obviously you're a fighter, because if you were a quitter, you would have just thrown in the towel, declared bankruptcy, said, I gave it a try, but it didn't work. And humanly speaking, let's just be honest, you gave it everything that you had. It was just going nowhere until you're sitting in the shower with the water draining on you saying, I have no options left. God, I need you to step in. And then you throw it all down. You max those credit cards out on this Facebook ads course. And I can't help but think this is, you said Black Friday 2019, right? Like, this is right before COVID. So you put it all on the line and things start to turn around for you, but they turn around for you right before COVID. So what happens next?
Yeah. So we grew exponentially. From 2019 to 2020, we grew 883%. COVID happened, so we had some setbacks with like logistics and shipping. However, everybody's on their phone at home and people are shopping. And so, my heart definitely goes out to the local businesses, that suffered during the restaurant. For online business, though, everything just skyrocketed. And we just could not keep enough inventory on the shelves. And we were able to move into, again, this is out of my little tiny basement bedroom, and then I went into my garage. And then we were able to move into a 5,000 square foot warehouse with 20-foot ceilings, and I was able to hire my first employees there, and now we have a team of 5 employees, and it's a multi-7-figure brand now. But yes, like during that time, we just grew so fast, and we're trying to figure out how to manage the growth.
Yeah. Okay, so I just hope listeners didn't miss what you said. You went from I'm facing bankruptcy, going to get evicted in 30 days, to a multi-7-figure brand. And it happened for you in lightning time, right?
It did. I mean, again, a lot of people need to understand. I didn't pay myself a dime for the first 2 years. That's the big
That's a lot
misconception.
of hard work for no pay for 2 years.
Yeah, a lot of misconception is everyone wants to try something for a few months, and if they don't see results immediately, they want to quit. It's like going to the gym. You're going to lift for first few months. You're not going to see much, but you keep going every single day, every single week, month after month. A year from now, your body's going to be looking way different. So it's the same thing with business. It happened in a snap during that time, but all of that work that had led up to that for 3 years. So we hit 7 figs in 3 years. And it's just like, it's so mind blowing how in the first 2 years, I mean, I was just knees deep in debt and just couldn't even see the light at the end. And then within those couple months, boom, everything changed.
Yeah. I was about to say it actually didn't happen overnight for you. It was a lot of months of misery and learning lessons. And a lot of those lessons, things just didn't go right. And then when they start to fall into place, you've got a lot of hard lessons that you've learned that help steer you towards this multi-7-figure brand now. I first learned about your brand through a mutual friend, man. And Derek, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I went out and bought some of your stuff. And man, I am absolutely convinced you guys are making some of the best sports apparel. Not the best Christian, but the best sports apparel on the market. But tell everybody about the 3 Nails brand. Tell them about 3 Nails. Tell them what it is, and tell them what your vision for the company is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on a mission to inspire others to pursue their God-given purpose. And again, like I had previously mentioned earlier, I wanted to be the first ever premium faith-based activewear company. There was a lot of different Christian brands at the time, but there was nobody. I had bought from other brands out there too. I was like, there's nobody that's really doing custom tailored, every like centimeter to centimeter of the fit. And I want something that's not too loose, too baggy, not too tight. And so again, it was a void in the market, and business is all about finding a problem and creating a solution.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I found the problem, created the solution of it. And, 3 Nails is born, and we make activewear for men, women. We have virtually everything you can think of. Our bestseller are our liner shorts for men. So you don't need to wear underwear. Some men don't understand that.
Got a couple pair of them myself. Yep.
Yeah, we've got hidden phone pockets in it. Everything is so thought out and intentional. As a functional standpoint, we want people to really wear this and not want to wear anything else. When they go to their closet, when they got to work out that day, they're going on a run, going to the gym, we want them to pull out 3 Nails and not only have the best sportswear and quality, but be able to represent the most important thing in our lives, which is our faith. And you can do that in a subtle way. And of course, it's a great conversation starter. A ton of people have came up to me and to many people out there that have told me in stories in the gym, hey, what's that cross? What is that? Great conversation starter to talk about, the gospel. And also intrinsically for myself is like, represents me. We're built on Matthew 6:33. And we have the 0633 logo on our shorts and on some of our other products. And that signifies that verse, Matthew 6:33. And that just, when I look at that, that's what I see is what we're built on. And I know that I'm doing my purpose in this world. And, again, I'm young at 29, and I've just got so much more years ahead of me to just continue living my purpose and getting this brand out to the masses and globally. And only 13% of Minnesota, where I'm from, even buys from us. So everything else is around the United States. Right. And now the mission is to start going international, and by God's grace, we'll get there.
Yeah. 3 Nails, the name and the logo. When did you guys settle on this? Obviously, I know the story, but why don't you tell for the listener who's not familiar with the name, the logo, why you settled on this?
Yeah, so I wanted, to signify the cross. 3 nails, the 3 nails that Jesus bore, for us, for eternal life. And it's so powerful. And when I was thinking about a name, I came up with so many different stupid names out there that I was thinking of for a brand, and just so cheesy. And then this name of 3 Nails just kept coming to me, and it was like 3 Nails, period. And if you see our logo, we have the period at the end of it, and because it's like nothing else needs to be such, like 3 Nails. Right. What Jesus took for us. so powerful. And just that symbol right there. And then I ended up hiring a designer and just told him the vision of the company, and he came up with the
Yeah.
logo and the three nails into a cross, and I
Right.
knew it right there. I was like, yep, that's it. So
Yeah, I first discovered the company by looking at your logo, and I was like, "Man, whoever developed that logo, I know what the 3 nails stands for, but that logo is done really, really well," which got me looking at your apparel, which caused me to buy a couple pair of those shorts, and man, I'll tell you right now, best pair look, I burn through shorts pretty quick, running shorts especially. I can wear out a pair of shorts, and they are by far the best pair of, gym shorts that I've ever owned, best pair of apparel shorts I've ever owned. So,
that's
um,
awesome.
tell us where the company is right now. Give me an idea of what your vision is for the next 12 months for the company.
Yeah, so right now, again, we're still a small team of 5 employees. We're growing very rapidly though, and we're based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Just this last Q4 in 2022, there's been some fear of the recession and
Yeah,
different things coming up in this world, and a lot of people are taking a defensive approach. And you still have to be smart, but this is absolutely just blown up. The Q4 for us has been so, I mean, it really is a Ephesians 3:23, just exceedingly above and beyond
yeah,
whatever you can imagine. And so the next 12 months, I want to continue providing new jobs for new employees. We're really going to be starting to look here to add to our marketing team and a fulfillment team, and just continuing to grow the brand, and again, expanding globally now. So like, what does that mean? Right? We want to go into the UK, Canada. We do have Canada right now, but we are, still in negotiations with our carriers on getting the
uh-huh,
best, so that people internationally can get discounted shipping rates. So the next 12 months is going from domestic to international.
yeah. I talked to you about this before we started this episode, but we're about 10 days away from Christmas. There are some people that listen that are like, I still don't know what to get. I have a couple of people on my list. And I'm just going to do this. Man, I rarely ever do this, but I'm just going to shamelessly tell you, if you have somebody that you're still shopping for, go to Three Nails, buy something for them. I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed by the quality of what you're going to get. In fact, I'm going to tell you, what you're paying for is far less than the quality of what you're going to get if you buy something from Three Nails this Christmas. I deliberately waited on this interview with you, David, or Derek, until right before Christmas, because I wanted people to hear about your product, and I wanted them to hear about it right before Christmas so that they would go out and do some shopping. So let's say a guy or a gal is looking for something. How do they find you, and what's the best deal you got for them right now?
Yeah, so the only way you can get our clothing is through our website directly, threenailsclothing.com, all spelled out. And right now, honestly, it is the best time of the year. We have a huge sale up to 50% off site wide right now. We bought as much inventory as we could handle, and things are selling out like crazy. So you go to the website, we got some sizes out of stock, but we still have quite a bit in there. So definitely very confident you'll be able to go there and find something for a loved one this year.
Yeah, and you better go there quickly, because every time I go there, you guys are burning through material so fast that if you want something for a friend or a family member, you better go there quick and pick it up. And there's still time to get it shipped before Christmas, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you have until the 20th. So if you can order before the 20th, we will get it delivered to you before Christmas.
Yeah. Derek, I'm going to wrap this episode up in just a second, and I just want you to talk to some folks out there that are where right now they're where you were. They're sitting in this 9 to 5 job, and they actually hate their job, but it's a single mom, and I got to provide for my family, and there's nobody else at home to take care of them. And if I don't work, they don't eat. But I don't want to keep doing this for the rest of my life. Or there's that person out there that is saying, look, man, I just don't want at the end of my life to have got up, went to work, made a buck, paid the mortgage, and died. I really want my life to stand for something. And they're just struggling with the courage to step out and to do what you did. Can you give them a little bit of advice as we get ready to wrap this thing up?
Absolutely. Um, with action comes clarity. And what that means is when you step out by faith and you take action, you will begin to just things will be able to get more clear to you. Things will start falling into place.
Yeah.
God will show up in your life. And I would just highly, highly suggest that you just pray to God of what your purpose is, because we can do good things, but sometimes good doesn't mean right. And you have to do what God has destined for you. And so I believe you could be pursuing the wrong purpose because it's maybe your goal in life, rather than saying, God, what do you have for me? What is your purpose for me? And there's just so much opportunity out there in this world right now. And again, our phones, our laptops, these electronic devices can be used for bad. It can be used just to, gain dopamine from just scrolling all day long. Or you can take the opportunity for business like I did. I had 0 mentors. I had $126 in my pocket when I started my company and I had Google and YouTube. And I was so hungry. So all I did was day and night just learn. So my mentors, if you will, were just people on YouTube talking about how to start a clothing brand, on Google, how to find manufacturers. So I do believe that once you find what God has purpose for your life and you start taking immense, massive action, things will just start to happen. And then you'll get to the point where you're 2 years in and you'll think, man, is there any light at the end of the tunnel? And on year 3, boom. And it can even happen for you. But even so, it's like when I started my brand, I was at 24 years old, and I told myself, I'm like, man, if I could just quit my job by the time I'm 30, I'll be so happy. And so things happen so much more fast than I even thought of. And truly being able to have this freedom in my life now to wake up and not have to go to a dead-end job it is so worth the sacrifice. So let me just tell you, it is absolutely worth everything. And your family depends on you, your kids depend on you, and just being able to use that platform for God's glory one day. Everything that you're going through right now, if you're in a tough spot, if you're on food stamps like I was, going through lonely periods and pain and suffering, just know that it's all there for a testimony one day. And so that's just my highly just recommendation of just give it to God and go all in. Don't go half and half.
I just wrote your quote down. With action comes clarity. You get out there, you take a bold step, and then things start to fall into place. And they start to fall into place because they have to, because you've just taken this step and now you're in some new territory and you start to figure some things out. And when you take the next step, you start to figure a few more things out. And then you take the next step, and pretty soon you've made a lot of gains by just taking a few bold steps, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Derek, thanks so much for being on this episode. Tell everybody one more time how they can find Three Nails, and tell everybody, what kind of special you got going on for them right now at Christmas time.
Yep. So you can find us threenailsclothing.com. Again, we have up to 50% off site-wide right now. It's the best prices of the whole year. So you definitely want to go to the website and grab your size before it sells out. Also, I'd like to say, if you're interested in online business, I don't have anything to sell you. I don't have any courses or anything. There's no scamming here. But I am uploading a ton of free content on my YouTube channel. Giving out a ton of business tips, a lot of things that I wish I would have known when I first started my business. So if you're at all interested in learning how to start and grow an online business, just search my name, Derek Dahl, in YouTube, and you'll be able to find my channel. And also, I'm very active on TikTok and Instagram, and you can find me at Derek Dahl.
We'll put links to your YouTube channel, to all of your social media. We'll also put links to Three Nails Clothing on this episode. But man, I just want to tell you thank you. Thank you for taking some time, being flexible with your schedule, and doing this episode with me today, buddy. Oh,
absolutely, man. I wouldn't have missed it for the world, and I just pray that I was able to touch somebody else out there that's going through a tough time that needs to know that they can make it.
That's right. Yeah. If you can make it, if I can make it, they can make it too, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, if this episode sounded like I was trying to sell you some Three Nails clothing, I am. And I'm not trying to sell it to you because I'm making a commission off of it. I'm not making 1 penny off of this. I want you to know just how incredible this guy is and how incredible his story is. He really is making the best clothes that I've worn in a long time. But the reason why I believe in this guy is because others would have declared bankruptcy. And Derek took the bold step of deciding, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust this vision that he's given me. I'm going to go for it. If that means maxing out my cards, if that means putting it all on the line, I'm going to trust God. And then Derek makes this statement: when that step happens, action leads to clarity. And then things start to fall into place because they have to. And you take the next bold step, and then the next bold step. So if you're a single mom out there who can resonate with where Derek was, you're on food stamps and you're wondering if things are going to turn around. If you're the dad out there that's working yourself to death and you're just getting farther and farther behind, I hope you were encouraged by this episode of Unbeatable with Derek Dahl. Don't throw in the towel. Don't give up. Don't quit. Trust God and take action. And then clarity will come later. Hey, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode. And if you're connecting with us for the first time, we'd love for you to go ahead and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. You can go ahead and follow us on social media. We're out there just about everywhere at Unbeatable Podcast. But I want to give you something. It's my Christmas gift for you. It's totally free, no strings attached. I got a little booklet. It's called the Unbeatable Army Survival Guide, and it's chocked full of quotes that'll motivate you when you feel like you don't have the energy, you don't have what it takes to take the next step. This book is pages and pages of quotes that I have used to motivate me when I'm struggling and when I need some courage to take the next bold step. All you got to do to get it is just go to unbeatablearmy.com. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I'll see you right back here next week for my very special guest and my friend, Jill Stevenson, as we get ready for Christmas 2022 on Unbeatable. See you next week.